Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, November 18th. Welcome to another episode of Together San Diego. I'm your host, Luis Cruz, Community Relations Director for the San Diego Union-Tribune. And joining me this morning is Mary Walshok, Associate Vice Chancellor for Public Programs at UC San Diego. Mary, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Oh, delighted to be with you, Luis.
Always great to see you. Now, in September, you were featured in our Phenomenal Women series. This seventh installment pays tribute to women in the business world, from CEOs and directors to entrepreneurs and visionaries. You have written 6 books and authored more than 100 papers on regional innovation, workforce development, and the role of research institutions on regional economies. Over nearly 50 years, Mary has built UC San Diego Extension to nearly 100,000 enrollees with a continuing education portfolio admired nationwide. Now, you retired in June, but then you were tapped to lead the development of UC San Diego Park and Market. It looks like a beautiful campus, and I definitely want to talk to you about that. But first, I want to pick your brain on a number of issues with regards to education and our local economy.
Love to.
So, Mary, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing the San Diego regional economy?
Well, San Diego, like much of the country, is facing a kind of disconnect between the kinds of workers the economy needs to be successful moving forward and the kinds of skills and knowledge the incumbent workforce, but even some of the new entrants into the workforce have. And so we've got to close that gap. And it's a complicated issue because it's both a supply and a demand problem, if that makes sense, Luis.
Right. Mm-hmm. So was this issue, this challenge, exacerbated by the COVID-19?
Absolutely, yes. And were you to talk with folks from Manpower, I serve on a national commission on workforce trends. What COVID did was really affect how people, citizens, particularly young adults and even mid-career adults, think about work-life balance. It also affected the numbers of immigrants who came to this country for jobs. And immigrants don't just work in unskilled jobs, they work in engineering jobs and computer science and healthcare jobs. And so we've seen a decline in female participation in the workforce. We've seen a lot of people in their 50s and 60s deciding that they want to shift their careers. They're not sure they want to go back to work. They may want to at an office or in a full-time job, but they may want to be contract workers or work in a different modality. And we've seen a gap in many employment areas where immigrants were often the incumbents. So on the supply side, there are attitudinal and demographic issues that are affecting the workforce. And then on the demand side, what you're seeing is an increased demand for health workers, which means skills and technical, a growing demand in computer science and information technology and cybersecurity. And you and I were talking a little bit before we went on the air about the importance of digital literacy. I mean, it's not just in big companies like Qualcomm, you need to be digitally literate. Fields like tourism and retail have been transformed by online marketing, by new ways of keeping data on customers, on just how logistics, reservations, marketing are affected by the web and digital platforms. And so the disconnect, if it makes sense, Luis, is that different kinds of people are thinking differently about the workforce than in the past. And as a result of COVID, we're recognizing that how we get work done is done differently. And so you've got to have skills to re-enter the workforce or to stay in it and succeed in it.
Yeah. Based on your 50 years of experience leading San Diego Extension, what do you think makes a continuing education program successful?
Well, I think the success at UC San Diego, and it isn't just the extension, but it's been the whole campus, is mindful of what the big global trends are that are affecting local economies. In other words, in the last 50 years, think about the changing role of China. Think about how manufacturing has been distributed across the globe. Think about rising economies. And so just staying in touch with big global trends helps you in terms of assessing where market opportunities are, what industries are likely to grow, and who your customers might be. But then you add to that the way in which technology has transformed all work and how manufacturing is globally distributed, even in very high tech fields. And the knowledge and skills you need in those highly technical fields change about every 18 months, so that the need to retool, to upgrade, to update, or even to pivot and completely change your career is becoming common for all workers. When I was a girl, Luis, it was doctors and engineers, right? You didn't want to drive your car across a bridge that had been built by an engineer trained, in old technologies, and you certainly didn't want to have brain surgery done by a neurosurgeon who'd never taken another class on developments in neurosurgery. So we've always understood that high-level professionals need to continuously upgrade their skills. But because of these market trends and because of these technology trends, everybody is in a position to have to learn new things and integrate new knowledge into old practices.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned when you were a girl, we actually have a picture
Oh
when
dear.
when you were 16. Uh,
Yes. Where did you get that? Yes. And when I was 16, there was no McDonald's. Clearly, there were no cell phones, no personal computers. In fact, Luis, when I was 24 and 25, I was finishing my PhD. And I was still working with data cards and a computer that was the size of my house in Del Mar, those big mainframe computers. And I think the Volkswagen Bug had been introduced into the United States by the 1960s. But just think about the incredible changes over the last 60 years in the tools we use to get work done. Look at your own industry
right.
and how it's been transformed
Yeah.
by advances in technology and alternative providers and new competitors, but also new audiences and new customers.
Yeah. Well, speaking of transformation, what are the sectors in our regional economy where you see the most potential for job growth?
Well, we are so blessed, Luis, to live in San Diego for two reasons. One is it's got a wonderful quality of life. I just came back from Washington, D.C., and I have friends who got caught in some storms in New York. And you come back here, and this is a place where you can work, play, raise a family with minimal sort of external stresses. So our quality of life is really important. But even more important are the achievements of this region over the last 50 years in terms of diversifying our economy so that we're one of the most dynamic centers of technology and life science and healthcare development in the world, not just in California or San Diego, but the world. So venture capital has been pouring in to innovative companies in the IT space, the software space, the pharmaceutical, the medical device space. And that means those companies, when they have that money, can hire people, right? They can hire people to work in research and development, in manufacturing, in sales, in accounting. And so when you look at downtown San Diego, the real estate development that's going on with IQHQ, with Stockdale Partners at the Horton campus, with the Padre parking lot turning into a technology hub, most folks predict about 6,000 new jobs. But all of those jobs are going to require digital skills, problem-solving skills, ability to work with spreadsheets, ability to work in teams, ability to be flexible and update your skills constantly. Secondly, the demographics of this region are trending towards, as in the country, more and more older people. So there's a huge demand for all kinds of healthcare workers, everything from physical therapists to technicians in hospitals who take your blood and samples, to high level nursing and physician assistant and medical care professionals. So between technology and healthcare, and then if tourism bounces back, because it's a big piece of our economy, there are opportunities there. Finally, Luis, not everybody understands the extent to which the military and defense contracting is still something like 24% of our regional economy. And organizations like NAVWAR are investing in companies that are developing technologies in healthcare, in cybersecurity, in signal processing, and these companies create jobs. But what you're hearing in everything I say is you got to know stuff and you got to keep relearning and upgrading what you know
Right.
in order to work in these industries.
All right. So that leads us to the new UC San Diego downtown
Right.
building. How will UC San Diego Park and Market create more opportunity and educational and economic equity in our region?
Right. I think in two ways that are really important, and give me 30 seconds to remind folks who are watching us that Park and Market is on the Blue Line trolley. And literally, you can there's a trolley stop there, which originates at the Tijuana border and takes you straight up through Old Town and UTC to the UCSD campus in 22 to 25 minutes. This is a phenomenal change in terms of the infrastructure of San Diego that allows the workforce, but also students and teachers and professors to interact across the region in ways they've never been able to do before. So the university's decision to construct this building and to design a wide array of programs at this location, I think is going to be pivotal to equity, diversity, and inclusiveness. That's number one. Then number two, the building is going to be an innovation hub. The stop on the UCSD campus where most people will be getting off is right at our design and innovation building,
Oh.
which is being opened and celebrated tonight and this afternoon, actually. And that's a hub of engineers and design lab folks who are trying to support innovation and entrepreneurship, new business development. Well, we're going to have a similar hub downtown, but downtown will be easily connected to East County and to South County as a transportation hub so that we can be much more inclusive in our approach to small business and new business development and connect businesses to opportunities on the Mesa and to expertise on the Torrey Pines Mesa. Secondly, we've made a deep commitment to workforce development in the downtown center. Extension is vital to this, but so is the San Diego Workforce Partnership and a number of other organizations that are going to have drop-in offices and facilities in our building so that we can be doing lots of education and training in these technical jobs, in these healthcare jobs that we've talked about, but also for that pipeline of young people who are coming out of our high schools looking for good careers or college admissions. So it's going to be an activity center, an education center, a place that's very, very accessible, almost like a first stop to UCSD or a first stop to the Torrey Pines Mesa. And we're very excited about the curriculum and the diversity of populations and skill sets we're going to be able to address because of our computer labs, classrooms, research space, and special event arts and culture space. It's going to be a real community hub.
That's great. And people can get more information at extension.ucsd.edu. Mary, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I think what I would like to add is as we move forward, these issues of where the jobs are going to be, how do we create businesses that create jobs? And we have to understand that as old businesses decline or locate in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, we need an economy that supports innovation and entrepreneurs and small business folks from all communities. And we need to come together around that. But the second thing I want to underscore, and it is my lifelong work, Luis, all work is learning. And we need to build into our culture, and we need to build into the management of companies and of firms a commitment to continuously educate their employees, to give them the time, to give them the resources so that we'll have a competitive labor force. Because if we don't do these things, the American economy will not remain a leader in the globe, and a place like San Diego will not be the rising star it is today.
Yeah. And again, real quick, when is the new campus expected to open?
So we're going to have a soft opening in January, inviting lots of people in. We have a cinema, and we're going to have a bistro. We're going to have lots of activities going on. And by February, March, we'll have a full program of courses, certificate programs, language studies, other things going on in the building. So it's going to be a real community center in the East Village, accessible to all. And I'm so glad I had an opportunity to talk with you about where I think the opportunities are for citizens in this wonderful city in which we live, and how Park and Market will be a little piece of addressing developing opportunity for the future.
Yeah. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Mary.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you. If you'd like to learn more about Mary and the other phenomenal women in our region, just log on to SanDiegoUnion-Tribune.com/phenomenal-women-series, and you can learn more about Mary and all her accomplishments. Also, I want to remind you that if you're a college student or high school student in San Diego County and you'd like to receive a free digital subscription to the San Diego Union-Tribune, just go ahead and email me, tell me where you go to school, and we'll set you up with a free digital subscription. There you see my email address, luis.cruz@sduniontribune.com. Educators, feel free to email me as well, and I can send you all more information. Thank you once again to Mary Walshok, Associate Vice Chancellor for Public Programs at UC San Diego, for joining me today. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Luis.
And thank you at home for watching. Have a great day, everybody.
News is more important today than ever before.
I'm currently outside Otay Mesa Detention Center.
I'm about to get a report at Sharp.
Out at Sunset Cliffs.
COVID testing site.
We live for these times when we're able to bring the news into the homes of people who need it the most.
I thank all of you for supporting our work.
When you subscribe to the paper, you're telling us that you believe in what we do.